The silence from Jupiter, Florida has been deafening for 88 days. No swing videos, no cryptic tweets, no promises of another comeback. Then, on a Tuesday morning in June, Tiger Woods walked into a press conference at TPC River Highlands not to announce his return, but to issue an ultimatum. The 15-time major winner, the man who has spent 3 decades shaping the game, looked into the cameras and delivered a message that left the PGA Tour's leadership scrambling. "I'm not coming back until 3 things change." The golf world is stunned, and the future of the tour hangs in the balance.
The date was June 23, 2026. TPC River Highlands in Cromwell, Connecticut. The Travelers Championship was just days away, and the golf world was still processing the news that Rory McIlroy had withdrawn from the field. But a bigger story was about to break, one that would overshadow every withdrawal, every signature event, and every debate about the future of professional golf. Tiger Woods walked into the media center at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time. He was wearing a navy blazer, a crisp white shirt, and an expression that no one in the room had seen before. Not the stoic champion, not the recovering patient, not the boardroom politician. Something else, something that looked a lot like resolve. For 88 days, Woods had been invisible. He had vanished into the Swiss Alps after a DUI arrest that stunned the sport, trading fairways for rehab and leaving the golf world to wonder if he would ever return. He had missed the Masters. He had missed the PGA Championship. He had missed the US Open. The man who had once dominated the sport had disappeared. But Woods wasn't idle. While the world speculated about his future, he was working. Not on his swing, on the game itself. And now, standing at the podium, he was ready to reveal what he had been building. The room fell silent as Woods leaned into the microphone. The words that followed would change professional golf forever. "I've been asked a lot over the past few months when I'm coming back. Everyone wants to know if I'll play the Travelers or the Open or maybe the FedEx Cup. But I think the question everyone should be asking is a different one. The question is, what kind of tour am I coming back to?" He paused. The reporters leaned forward. The cameras zoomed in. "I'm not coming back until 3 things change, and I'm not going anywhere until they do." The room erupted. The golf world was stunned, and the PGA Tour's leadership, which had spent years trying to manage the greatest player of his generation, was suddenly facing an ultimatum. The first demand that Tiger Woods laid out was one that had been simmering beneath the surface of professional golf for years. It was about money, not his money, the players' money. Rule number 1, Woods said, his voice steady and deliberate, the player equity program must be transparent. Right now, players don't know how much equity they're getting, when they're getting it, or what it's actually worth. That's not acceptable. The PGA Tour's player equity program, created as part of the Strategic Sports Group deal, was supposed to be the players' reward for staying loyal during the LIV Gulf War. The tour had sold a stake in PGA Tour Enterprises to private equity investors for $1.5 billion, valuing the organization at approximately $12.9 billion. The players were promised equity shares worth up to $930 million in total. But the details had never been fully disclosed. Players didn't know how much equity they would receive. They didn't know when it would vest. They didn't know what the tour's valuation was actually based on. And Woods, who had been one of the architects of the deal, had become convinced that the system was broken. "We're asking players to trust a valuation that doesn't match the balance sheet. The tour's assets are worth $3.8 billion, but we're selling ourselves for $12.9 billion? That's a gap of nearly $9 billion. Players deserve to know where that money's going." The room fell silent. Woods was not just criticizing the tour, he was exposing a contradiction that had been hiding in plain sight. "I've seen the numbers, I've sat in the meetings, and I've come to the conclusion that the players are being asked to trust a system that doesn't trust them back. That has to change." The comment was a direct shot at PGA Tour CEO Brian Rowlap and the executives who had structured the deal. Woods, who had been one of the tour's most loyal defenders, was now publicly questioning its leadership.
If we're going to ask players to invest their careers in this tour, we need to show them what they're investing in. Full transparency, no secrets, no hidden valuations. The players built this tour. They deserve to know what it's actually worth.
The second demand that Tiger Woods laid out was one that every player on the PGA Tour had been whispering about for years. It was about the schedule, the relentless, unforgiving, soul-crushing schedule that had turned the world's best players into machines grinding through an endless season. Rule number 2, Woods said, his voice hardening. The schedule must be fixed. We cannot continue to cram 3 signature events into 4 weeks between 2 majors. It's not sustainable, it's not healthy, and it's not fair to the players. The comment was met with nods from the reporters. They had heard the complaints from Rory McIlroy, who had skipped 3 signature events in 2026, from Scottie Scheffler, who had admitted he was whipped after the Memorial Tournament, from Justin Rose, who had withdrawn from the RBC Heritage citing exhaustion. The players were tired, the schedule was broken, and Woods was saying what everyone else was too afraid to say. We have the best players in the world, and we're running them into the ground, Woods continued. 3 $20 million tournaments in 4 weeks between the Masters and the PGA Championship? That's not a test of skill, that's a test of endurance. And it's burning out the very players who make this tour great. Woods, who had spent years managing his own schedule to extend his career, knew the toll that the grind could take. He had played through pain, through injury, through the kind of exhaustion that would have broken lesser men, and he had learned that the only way to survive was to prioritize. Look at Rory, look at Scottie, look at Justin Rose. They're skipping signature events not because they don't want to play, but because they can't. Their bodies can't handle it, their minds can't handle it, and if we keep pushing them, we're going to lose them. Woods proposed a radical solution, a condensed schedule that would start in late January and end in September. Fewer events, more rest, better preparation for the majors, the kind of schedule that had allowed him to compete for 2 decades. We need to own the summer, Woods said. We need to create a schedule that allows our best players to be at their best when it matters most, not grinding through a marathon that no one can win.
The third demand that Tiger Woods laid out was one that had been a running joke in the golf world for decades. It was about shorts. Yes, shorts. Rule number 3, Woods said, a hint of a smile crossing his face. The shorts ban must be lifted. It's time. The room erupted in laughter, but Woods was not joking. I've been saying this for years, Woods continued. It's 2026. We're playing in 90-degree heat, and we're wearing pants? It doesn't make sense. It's not about looking professional. It's about being comfortable. It's about being able to focus on the golf, not on the sweat. Woods had first raised the issue in 2018 when he was asked if he would rather play in shorts. I would love it, he had said. And now, 8 years later, he was making it a condition of his return. I understand the tradition. I understand the history. But tradition doesn't have to mean discomfort. The game is changing, the players are changing, and the dress code should change with them. Woods, who had spent 3 decades wearing pants in the Florida heat, the Texas humidity, and the California sun, knew exactly what he was asking for, and he knew that the resistance to change was not about tradition, it was about control. Look, this isn't the most important thing on the list, but it's symbolic. It's about the tour recognizing that the players are the product. It's about the tour trusting the players to make their own decisions, and it's about the tour being willing to change. The comment was a reminder that Woods, even at 50, even after everything he had been through, was still fighting for the players, not for himself, for everyone.
The press conference ended at 11:15 a.m. Woods stood up, adjusted his blazer, and walked off the stage without taking questions. The reporters scrambled to file their stories. The social media feeds exploded. The golf world was in shock. But the real shock was yet to come, because Woods' demands were not just a wish list. They were an ultimatum, and the PGA Tour had a deadline. I'm not coming back until these 3 things change, Woods had said, and I'm not going anywhere until they do. The message was clear. Tiger Woods, the 15-time major winner, the man who had been the face of the PGA Tour for 3 decades, was not going to play another competitive round until the tour addressed the issues that mattered most to the players, not to him, to everyone. The player equity program must be transparent. The schedule must be fixed. The short span must be lifted. 3 demands, 3 changes that would reshape the PGA Tour for decades to come. The golf world is stunned, not because Woods made demands, because he made them from a position of strength. The man who had been invisible for 88 days, who had missed the Masters, the PGA Championship, and the US Open, who had been arrested for DUI and spent months in rehab, was still the most powerful figure in the sport. And when he spoke, the PGA Tour listened. Tiger Woods refused to return to the PGA Tour until 3 rules changed, and the golf world is absolutely stunned. The 15-time major winner walked into a press conference at TPC River Highlands after 88 days of silence and delivered an ultimatum that left the tour's leadership scrambling. First, the player equity program must be transparent. Players deserve to know what their equity is actually worth. Second, the schedule must be fixed. 3 signature events in 4 weeks between 2 majors is unsustainable. And third, the short span must be lifted. It's time for the tour to modernize. Woods' demands were not about him. They were about every player who had ever felt the weight of a broken system. They were about the players who had stayed loyal during the LIV Gulf War, who had trusted the tour's promises, who had given everything to the game. And they were about the future of professional golf. The golf world is stunned, not because Woods made demands, because he made them from a position of strength. The man who had been invisible for 88 days, who had missed every major in 2026, who had been arrested for DUI and spent months in rehab, was still the most powerful figure in the sport. Tiger Woods is not coming back until the PGA Tour changes, and the clock is ticking. Do you think Tiger Woods is right to demand these changes, or is he overstepping his authority? Drop your take in the comments below. And if you want the real story behind every bombshell, every controversy, and every legend in golf, hit that subscribe button, because Tiger's story is far from over.